Yeah, it's bold. I know, and I'm like, this is gonna be, yeah, I didn't either.
Ready? All right, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday, August 15th, 2016 City Council meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, we have a new finance officer tonight. Welcome.
Yeah.
And if you'll do roll call for us.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay.
She's here.
Okay. Albertson,
Here.
Bueller, Danforth,
Here.
Manti is here. Okay. Riefenberger,
Here.
Roby,
Here.
Solem,
Here.
Thorson,
Here.
Tupper,
Here.
Vilhauer.
Here.
Thank you, guys.
Well, you got on a roll there. You're really moving. Just smoke.
job.
I just seen smoke coming out over there. Good deal. All right. Number one on the agenda, I need a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Bill, second by this guy right here, Mr. Bueller. Any comments, any changes, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Second here, number two, approval of the agenda. I will need a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by, coming in pretty darn fast, Glenn, and second by John. Any questions, any changes? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number three, ordinance number 1612, amending section 21.0202 of Title 21 regarding zoning for the city of Watertown. And this is a second reading. You want to take and fill us in a little bit, Justin?
Will do, Mayor. As you recall, the last city council meeting, we took a look at this provision that, unlike most zoning ordinances, didn't relate to the metes and bounds of zoning boundaries or how various uses are treated therein, but rather was purely an administrative function, and so was an item that we could address without a public hearing and the notice provisions thereof. So the issue here was notice, and really this ordinance, as you recall, dealt with three changes. The first being, a requirement that a certain time frame of notice be given in advance of the hearing to adjacent landowners by mail. The second was to put into ordinance a practice that had been ongoing with the city actually sending out that mailed notice and then billing the applicant for the conditional use or the variance. And then the third is to require mailed notice whenever an item on the Board of Adjustment calendar has been continued for an extended period of time.
Very good. I believe I need a motion and a second on that. Motion by Bruce, second by Beth. Any questions or concerns on that? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number four, vacation of a portion of 10th Avenue South between lots 8, Block 2, Paulson's Addition, and Lot 20, Block 2, South Side Addition, Resolution number 1626. This is a public hearing. I'll open that at this time. If there's anybody who wants to speak in favor of or against this is your opportunity. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So move.
Motion by Dan, second by Mike. And Shane, if you want to give us a little info on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you put my screen on? For those of you that need a little geography lesson, 9th Avenue, or 212, is bordering this area along the north. Highway 81 is to the east, and then there is still a 4th Street Southeast, which is only improved for one block in behind the Hardee's and the Taco Bell and so forth. So the property that's being vacated is all owned by Spies on either side. These yellow boxes are the Spies property. And the area that's hatched in between those is the area that's being vacated. There are utility lines located in that corridor, so we are asking for the retention of the road right-of-way for utility easement. And just for an FYI, we have now received a petition to vacate the other half of the block to the east, and that will be coming forward to the council at the next meeting, so.
Shane, didn't we at one time have that, talk about putting a road all the way through there?
Yes,
10th Avenue across and then back north?
correct. But here's, 10th Avenue is dysfunctional for two reasons. One, it no longer connects to 81 to the east. That block has already been vacated. And if you look at the piece that's left here on the west, which is west of the portion being vacated, it has nowhere to go. There's, those buildings on either side of it are built right up to the property lines. There's no setbacks, so there's no functionality to that stretch of roadway. So really all we're gonna do is through this council meeting and presumably the next, vacate the other portions of 10th Avenue, and we will still maintain a 3rd Street north and south through the area and a 4th Street south.
Can you
Through
give us
the
a
area.
perspective on where where the Hardys and the Caribou and all it is?
My cursor doesn't show up here very well, but basically straight off the end of where this hatched area is, 10th Avenue used to be located through here, and half of that,
Yeah, Shane, we can't see it at all.
yeah,
So I think if you take a look at the far corner on the top, you'll see that's where the Hardys and the Taco Bell are, right up there to the very top.
okay,
That's where they are at.
All right.
4th Street is clear through. 10th Avenue there has been vacated
right,
at one particular time. So you're looking, you've got 4th Avenue, you got 3rd Street. If you went over on 9th Ave, or 10th Avenue, on just below your cursor, it would be a real struggle for us to be able to put that road through. That's why
Yeah.
they're looking at doing it. They do want to build some more, I believe, storage units, and they have like a 0 setback now on their properties. I believe that's why it's coming in front of you.
Shane, do we have, on that particular spot that they want to vacate, there's no intention to build in that, over that area, is there?
no, what they
Because the
want.
gas line, you wouldn't be able to do that anyway, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
there are utilities in there that would prohibit building in there, but what they can do is then use that as their setback. So they can use 30 feet of that as their setback, so they can essentially build right up to the property line as they did right here to the west. So,
If we
Similar.
hadn't closed off, which I kind of regret what we did, but if we hadn't closed off that other one, then I would object to this, but we kind of, for lack of better, we kind of screwed it up when I was on the board when we did that, that off of Jensen Avenue would have probably been a good idea if that would have came through, but that's kind of a done deal, so now I don't know that there's,
You know, I
Too
just
much
want to throw
fixed on it.
something out at you guys, because when Taco Bell and those places, Hardee's, were looking at building, they were struggling because it was a vacated road. Now, they were then told by the person that petitioned it in the very beginning that if they want part of that back, it's big bucks. And I'm talking, it was big dollars. It was major dollars that they wanted to sell that vacated road for. So when you take a look at that, you know, I think you need to keep that in mind, because it is partially some of the same owners that if they ever needed that property, they would be put in that same position.
so, with
This is on the
that,
second one that you're looking at, not tonight's, but on the second one
Right,
that you're
correct.
going to be doing.
correct. So, we did discuss it at length at the planning commission, and they recommend award or approval of the vacation.
That would be the western.
Yep, that's all you're asked to act on tonight, is this area that's hatched, and just for clarity again, you will see another piece for this other half a block to the east coming.
obviously, if we do the one, it's gonna be hard to say no to the other one, but if that gets vacated on the other block, I presume that if it's two different property owners, half goes to each one then?
That's correct.
Steve, when we vacated that other one, was that all the same property owner? So that's all, otherwise it should have been half to each property, but it was all the same property owner at the time?
Shane, as we start to, because this, we're starting to get some development south of this, right? Where the new theater is, and I think that'll start to develop down in there as they clean that up. And are we not gonna have any continuity in regards to northbound traffic?
No, I'll show you what our long-term plan is, so the theater is in this property here. My intention is to maintain way, and I'm not saying this is easy, it's gonna take some fill and some development. Third Street can come south, and we'll build this piece of 12th Avenue across here and connect it back up on 4th Street. And if 4th Street needs to come out on 11th here to connect to Highway 81, we will reserve a path through that area for development.
Mayor, let me ask you a question. I know that this has been something that we have talked about many times over the years, and it's the use of, is it 4th?
4th, yep.
By the concrete company? Has that ever been resolved?
It has not. And I think that's what you're looking at right now. If you look at closing the east side of 10th Avenue, it will just expand that footprint that much larger. Are you picking up what I'm throwing out there? Bring that picture in a little larger for us instead of so much of the town. If you take a look at 10th Avenue, if you go up a ways.
Right here?
Yep, and you go east, yep, that's going to increase the footprint of exactly where we're looking at to the south there. Am I correct?
If we approve the second part,
The second part of it.
Yep, right
Down
here.
right in there.
Yep, right here.
That's going to increase the footprint of that and to the north. I don't know, maybe we should sell it to them. I'm just
Can't
throwing
sell
that
it
out.
right away.
I'm just throwing that out. Maybe if we're willing to, how wide is that road? That's right away of 66 feet?
I don't think you can sell public right away.
Okay, so
We
if
can vacate it.
Can we retain some type of a something there that says, okay, now we do have somebody who wants to build over there and they need that back. How do you ever get it back?
They would have to
Because then they
rededicate,
own it and they can sell it to them.
they have to rededicate right away to the city to
So
build.
if I was a landowner and I said, okay, would you vacate that 66 feet and I get 33 feet? Now Joe Blow comes up to me and says, Steve, would you sell me that 33 feet of yours? Sure. Zero cost,
Development price.
yeah.
Shane,
zero cost. So I struggle with giving it away.
Well, we're retaining easements for that fact, because we still need to maintain, there is a overhead power line, there's a water line, and a gas main, and telecommunications utilities, all in that. So really, all we're doing, the only advantage to the petitioners is that they shrink their setbacks to be able to use part of the roadway as their setback. They can't build buildings on this piece, so it really has no value for sale from that perspective. But I'm not saying it doesn't benefit them, because it does, because it shrinks their setbacks on their own property.
No, I get it, and I think I'm mixing two scenarios up here. I got the
Mhm.
west side of 10th and the east side of 10th.
Correct.
And I'm mixing those two up. So I just wanted to throw that out to you, you know, on especially that east side, because it's more usable property than on the west side. So you're telling me they can't increase and go into that road?
go up to it, but
They can go up to it, they can't build on it.
And there is, without question, significant value in that, Shane, if it enables somebody to do something additional with that property, albeit not being able to build in here. But for me to be able to build up to that line, or
Yeah.
well, probably up to the line, can have very significant value.
Right, and I just want to point this out too, and I'll turn this on. One of the major components of what the city needs to keep, this is a large storm sewer pipe that comes north and south through this street, and this is one of our flood control valve structures. We will always be retaining that. We won't give that up. So that has functionality as far as controlling the drainage and function through this area. And so that's another reason not to retain easements.
So there's like an alley behind there then?
Yep, 20 foot. So, with that, I guess the
We have
pros
a
or
question.
cons.
We have a question.
Yep.
I don't want to stick you not trying to put you on the spot, but if you can't sell public right-of-way, why did we buy or look to buy a bunch of right-of-way up north where the bypass was at?
Because we have to buy right away. If we don't have it, we can't sell it. They did not, the state, that was just, those were just, liens or options to buy. And they turned those options to buy over to the city. That's how
I
that
want to
was.
say it, Mike, I'm confused.
I know.
I really don't understand. If we're going to buy it, we can't sell it?
I'll let Justin clarify that.
Sure.
I think we need to put our new attorney on task here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a complicated issue, but our authority to be able to dispose of rights of way, because it is a public good, because it is designated solely for getting point A to point B, whether people traveling or utilities or what have you, statute restricts how we are able to dispose of. And
So let me ask you this, Justin, are we any different, the city any different than the state?
we are.
The state can sell right away?
I haven't gone into detail with regard to the state's ability to set right-of-way. Certainly as a subservient body to the state, we are restricted in a number of other aspects with regard to the way that we can manage property, sell it, lease it, what have you, relative to the state. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are different rules that apply, but I'd have to do some research on that to determine exactly what applies.
Yeah, there must be, because we just bought a bunch of right away. Did we not, Shane?
About the right to buy the road.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
We acquired rights to maintain what will be ultimately used for right-of-way, but depends on how they bought it. When they bought it from landowners. And then they, of course, sold it to another governing body, so that's probably changes the scope of that land swap as well. In other words, and then a lot of that was options to buy, or to purchase right away, not necessarily outright purchase of land. So,
Okay.
But,
Are there any other questions that we have on this?
You know, I just want to say, I think in this regard, instead of continuing with this in this meeting, I think this is a policy issue we need to look at. And we've done this a lot of times before. We did it with the hospital. This is something that we've done many times. I personally don't see a problem with doing this. Would we ever build a road there without having to relocate utilities, or could you?
we would have built the road over those utilities.
Okay.
I think it gets down to this. Do we have a reason why we would ever expect that to be a road? Which, part of when we allowed the other part to close off, it kind of makes this less relevant, but that traffic on 4th and 212 there, I mean, that's a killer corner to try to get out of that spot. And whether you think someday having a road there is another way to get around and get out because of the stoplight, that traffic backs up well past that intersection. You can sit at that light and can't get out. So that's the only thing, if the city's never going to put a street or have a street put in there, then it doesn't make any difference. But that's the question we didn't ask ourselves in the first place when we let that other one go, are we going to need a street there, which would have been a good traffic avenue. I mean, that would have been a lot better on that corner to alleviate the
No,
the
we still
traffic.
have, do we not, we have, is it 11th Avenue, Shane? So we still own 11th Avenue. You could take and go straight down 4th Street underneath that conveyor or on the other street and get over onto 11th Avenue, am I correct? That is.
That's correct, yep.
4th and 3rd both.
Yep. Yeah, so in the end, I will be reluctant to give up 3rd Street north all the way south to 12th Avenue here, and then 4th Street north and south, will also hang on to that, and 11th Street already is a noticeable connection back to Highway 81, so those we're gonna hang on to as long as we can.
So, let me ask you this, this is coming to us because they want to be able to build those buildings right on the line. Can't they get a variance? Can't they get a variance to put it on the line, or is not the planning commission allowing to do that without the
Let me
vacation of
address
it?
this one.
That, variances are given by the Board of Adjustment through their
Well,
process, but
yeah.
yes,
Won't they give it?
not down to zero.
Can I chime in on that one a little bit? I think that there are 7 different, I think it's 7 different criteria that they have to fall into to enable them to allow them a variance for that property. And if they don't fall into that, there's a couple that have a little bit of gray area to them, and one is if it's something that's kind of like that in the neighborhood, if in that neck of the woods, but they really need to look at the state statutes for making that decision. So to me, looking at that, I would say they probably shouldn't do that. Not to say they couldn't, but they probably shouldn't.
But did they give them a 0 setback further to the west?
All of them around
Still
them
there.
would
That
appear.
road, technically, the road is
That
still
road
there.
is still there, so
Yep.
they gave him that variance for a 0 setback on that road.
I can't speak to that, that's way before my
I
recollection.
would really like to see us spend a little more time on this and get us better informed on what they want to do and what,
Yeah.
Steve, I got a question
Is
though.
there- is there a hurry?
If you gave them a variance to the edge, then you're pretty well not gonna put a road in anyway,
Right.
because you pretty well screwed that up. My question is, what's the appetite as a council to whether we ever would want a road or to put it in there? Because if we want to think we're gonna need or want a road in there, then we shouldn't give it up. If we don't feel like we're gonna ever need or want a road there, then it's immaterial. But I think the traffic on that 4th Avenue, the corner, is a bit of a problem the way it's developed, so.
Well, and
Whether
that said, though-
whether we can release it through here better or make them go around another block, I guess.
And I know what you're saying, because it is bad there, but to me, that's all the more the reason to keep it open and put a road through there, because.
I don't disagree, that's what I'm.
If I know that's bad, I want to get over to Third quicker and get up farther away from the.
And that's what
the
I'm asking,
212
and nothing
intersection.
against Spies, it would be fine, but we kind of blocked this in when we did the other, and do we want to compound the issue, I guess, is the thing is, but if we're never going to follow through and do anything about a road, well, then it's kind of immaterial, I guess, so.
when you do look at that, it's going to be very, very difficult to put a road in down there.
Okay, so let me ask this question, and of course, this is completely up to the council's discretion. We're entertaining the vacation of the other half of this block at the planning commission this coming Thursday's meeting. If you wish to hold off or on a decision tonight for this one, the other half of this block will come before you at the next council meeting. We could invite both of those owners here at that time, if the next phase of the vacation is also recommended to proceed by the planning commission. And we could invite those owners here and have them give input as to what their projects and plans are for that area.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. I think that's a good call.
At this point-
We do have the ability on the 22nd, we're going to be meeting as a council also for the CIP hearings. If time is of the essence, we could probably put it on
Okay.
that agenda.
Okay, that's true too. So in essence, let's reverse this discussion a little bit. If we're going to build a road through this area, the property owners adjacent to it would be the ones that would pay for it and be assessed for it. And they're the ones that are asking to vacate it. So if we keep it, someday then we're also expecting them to improve it and build a road. So that'd be a key question that I would ask them as to what, if you're not gonna they wanna vacate it, but if they're not gonna vacate it, what is their willingness to invest in the road? It's a kind of a double question.
Shane, I got a quick question. If you go over to the west side of that, where Third Street is, You look at all those buildings, they're built with zero setback now. How did that get, according to the map, they're built with zero setback?
Yep, and I can't speak to that. I'd have to do some research.
Looks like they're pretty close to zero on the west side, too.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to have, and I'd like to have a much better and absolute understanding of what we can and can't do in regards to the sale of right-of-way. Unless, Justin, you're saying it just absolutely can't be sold. Okay.
That's essentially what I'm saying, sir. Yep. The one bit of daylight that I could see in statute is there's a reference to altering rights-of-way, but that implies that there's still a right-of-way. So in theory, one could say that altering means you could shrink that right-of-way some and still have it. The problem is there's no case law and there's no other statute that helps to give that any sort of definition. So we're left with a vacation procedure for giving over right-of-way to private use and nothing more.
Okay, I think this will give you a little additional time to look into it. Do we still need to act upon this? I don't believe I have a motion in a second yet, do I?
You do.
I do? Well, I think I'd like to, we could. Do you guys want to table it till the 22nd? You know, that is going to be a busy night. We're gonna be talking.
Pretty much whatever we decide with the one is gonna happen with the other, so I just wouldn't deal with them together either way, because
Okay.
if we're gonna give it on the one, we're pretty much gonna have to give it on the other, in my opinion.
It's been sitting here for years. I don't think the 22nd is a big issue.
Are you sure that 22nd is good, though, with all the busyness? Would you rather have it on the regular council meeting agenda?
I would.
Oh, I think let's just do it. It's not going to be that tough.
You don't? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I will have to entertain a new motion. Mhm. Like to amend their motion to table this. Who made the motion? Albertson, and second by Danforth. So I'll need you to amend your motion.
I'll amend the motion to be handled on the 22nd, both of these at
Of
the same
August.
time. Of August.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
And a second
To
on
table
that.
it, yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, resolution number 1627, amending rules for special alcoholic beverage licenses. What I'll do is I will look for a motion in a second, and then we'll have discussion and have motion by Mike? Randy, second by? Abe? All right, second by Beth. I think you all kind of saw what we're doing on this, but if you want to give us a quick update on it, Justin.
Yes, sir, Mayor. So you may recall that back in 2014, April 2014, the City Council adopted Resolution 1415. That was the City Council's first resolution adopting the framework for the special event or special alcoholic beverage license. And so since then, the zoo, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, have taken advantage of this particular license scheme. And what it's designed to do, it's provided in statute. It's essentially designed for civic, charitable, nonprofit, fraternal organizations within the community to be able to access the ability to provide alcoholic beverages, 4 different types of licenses under state law that were then upgraded to 7, for a fundraising event, hence the special event. So what this change does is it replaces Resolution 1415 with a new resolution that changes some of the criteria, or changes really the framework for issuing a special alcoholic beverage license, with the understanding that as a permanent fixture in our regulatory scheme, it will have to become an ordinance here at some point, and we'll be working expeditiously to make this an ordinance as opposed to purely a resolution. But in the meantime, these are the changes that have been made to Resolution 1415 by Resolution 1627. I'll just run down the list of operative provisions. They are 1 to 9, and I'll let you know what has changed. On operative provision 1, there were 4 references to A, B, C, D special temporary licenses. C in the old resolution was for a special on-sale license, and then for whatever reason, there was reference below that to the fact that, quote, "The city council will not consider any application for issuance of a special on-sale license." So the thought was to strike reference to that license in operative part 1 and just note that the city council will not issue it. So there are 3 temporary licenses, and those are the special malt beverage retailer's license, malt beverage being any alcoholic beverage derived from a malt, so your beers, some of those fruity flavored alcoholic beverages, your Mike's Lemonade, that kind of thing. Then there's the on-sale wine retailer's license, which means on sale, you can consume the wine on the premises. And then the special off-sale package wine dealer's license, you can take wine to consume it off-premise, wherever the special event is being had. So that's operative provision 1. Operative provision 2 didn't change much, but for the fact that the reference to "for the duration of a special event." That phrase is new to this resolution, and that's just to underscore the fact that this license scheme is not focused on the alcohol license itself, but on the event. So the third operative provision was changed to reflect state statute. The earlier resolution didn't have this phrase, but we've added the phrase, quote, "and the license is to be used in a publicly owned facility," as a second requirement to when a public hearing is not required. So that reflects South Dakota Codified Law 35-4-124. The fourth operative phrase was changed again to reflect that this is a special event-based provision of licensure, as opposed to looking at those particular types of special licenses in the operative provision number 1. So you could have any number of those types of you could have all 3. The key is it for the special event? If it is, then that's what the council would be looking to if you adopted this resolution. Operative provision 5 hasn't changed. Operative provision 6 changed the fee structure to reflect the fact that it's special event focused. A flat $300 fee for the special event, as opposed to a $300 fee for the on-sale or the special malt beverage retailer's license, the on-sale wine, and the off-sale package wine dealer's license. So you could, in theory, have a $900 price tag for a special event if you wanted all 3 under the existing framework. This new framework would just make that a $300 flat fee.
Can I ask a quick question? How did we arrive at a $300 fee?
That was in there. I think the council arrived at that.
That's right. And the fee, Councilman, can be set by the municipality. State statute has vested the municipality with the authority to set that.
I recall we discussed that, but why $300 is, what is any rationale that number, and what does it pay for?
My understanding, I heard Kristen chime in about the transfer cost, and I believe that factored into it in talking with Wade. And so that kind of was, that was my understanding, at least. That's the one rationale that I've heard.
It covers our administrative costs, is that what it is? Yeah. All right.
Does it cost that much, $300 to do something like that?
I think when you guys discussed it in the past, there was that talk about, I think, to transfer, it's $150, and then to transfer back was $150. So at one point, that's why the $300.
At one time, we looked at waiving the fees altogether for nonprofit type situations like this, but we came up with the $300 fee.
Well, then it got to be, there could be
The definition, yeah.
too many of who's a nonprofit. It was got to be real tough.
Yeah.
And I think we even had talked different numbers with different ones, and we just says, make it all the same and not get.
Then we came up with that
confusing.
numbers, because that's what a transfer fee is $150 in, $150 out, and
The one other change that was made here is to operative provision 7. That first sentence there, talking about that $1 million bodily injury, death, disability, that existed in the prior resolution. What's been added here is language reflecting what SDPAA asks for in terms of insurance whenever any alcoholic beverage is involved, whenever the city makes a decision with regard to alcoholic beverages. So malt beverages, wine, liquor, it doesn't matter. SDPAA asks for, quote, a liquor liability insurance with a limit of not less than $1 million for each occurrence. And then the remainder of that language is required by, or is asked to be provided by SDPAA, our insurance provider. So with that, I believe that that's the extent of the substantive changes.
Okay, well,
Happy to
thanks,
take them.
Justin. Is there any other questions that you have for Justin?
I think, I'm trying to remember, but I think one of the other reasons for that number was we had different businesses transferring their license for a day. And if we didn't put any fee on this, that made it so this way it's the same cost as somebody to do it. And they wouldn't necessarily be bumped off of the list to do it. You follow what I'm trying to say there?
Sometimes.
Justin, is it fair to say that we're not tying the hands of the chamber, for example? I mean, is it?
correct.
I mean, we're not making it so difficult with this that they won't be able to get a license when they ask for it.
Not at all. Yeah, that's the we're making it easier for them,
Because if
Councilman.
they actually picked up 2 licenses in the past, a wine and a beer, they were done for the year. So if we made it an event, they could do, numerous of the licenses. So 4 events, they could actually get 12 licenses. Right. It's much better for them. So I think we have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no other questions, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, authorization for the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with Austin Engineering for construction engineering services on the South Broadway Bridge rehab project. I'll ask for a motion and a second, then we'll have to turn it over to Shane. Motion
Second.
by Mike, second by Glenn. And then Shane, if you want to touch base on that for us.
Sure. Austin Engineering was hired to do the design work for the rehabilitation of South Broadway Bridge. You can put my screen up. So the bridge is located approximately 1 block south of Highway 212. And the south end of Broadway, of course, exits onto 20th Avenue South, or known as the truck bypass. We are now entering the construction phase of this project, and the engineering firm actually underran the design budget. So they're proposing to do the construction portion of the project for the remainder of their retainer, or estimated retainer for the whole project. So with the construction and the design phase, the new agreement limits the engineering fees at $25,000. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Shane on this? Okay, hearing none,
That was coming back to basically getting paid by the.
That's correct. GLE will be responsible for these dollars.
We
And
will.
we're going to take them times 4, so. Oh, Jim, I didn't even see you out there, man.
Yeah. Yes, our agreement with GLE is that as we incur these expenses, we can invoice them throughout the project, and we are in the process of preparing our first invoice for reimbursement, and that agreement's well established with GLE for this project.
Very good. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of change order number 1 to the contract with Creststone Builders for the Downtown Alley Project, increasing the contract amount by $6,140. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Bruce, second by Beth. Shane, if you want to do this one?
Sure. My screen's still up? Okay, so this year's downtown alley improvement project is known as the T Alley. It is bordered by Broadway Street on the west, Maple Street on the east, Kemp on the south, and First Avenue Northeast on the north. Part of the change order was the building here, 15 Kemp, had a brick face that was applied to the building after the original alley pavement was installed. And so then when we took out the pavement between those two buildings on either side, that brick was left exposed and hanging. It did have a anchor, it was anchored to the building with an angle iron, so the brick were sitting on the angle iron, but by taking the pavement out from underneath the brick, it kind of left a little bit of a quandary on how do we go forward paving. So I evaluated it, I decided that it was gonna be smarter and better for us to pour a separate piece of pavement underneath the brick. So say a foot out from the building and have a new construction joint there rather than try to pack concrete underneath the brick. So we added an extra step to the contractor and they gave us a price for the extra work to set new forms and wait, you gotta wait 2 or 3 days before you can do the next sequence. So $940 is what we negotiated on that piece. Then we had a request along the west edge of this alley parking lot that we're also working on. If you notice, there were bollards, or are bollards, along the portion of the patio behind Duffy's. And the question came as to, you can see an old curb here, that those are in poor shape, they're ill-maintained. And so we visited with the business owners along that project and decided to put in additional bollards along there on the city parking lot. Kind of defines where the bumpers can stop and, keep people from parking on the private property. And then we also visited with the owner along the backside of what is now the lounge property, and we're gonna do the same type of bollard situation there, because they do have a backdoor patio area, and kind of cordon that off and protect those folks that want to use that patio. So with that, we did get prices. It was $200 per bollard. We have an estimated quantity of 26 bollards to complete this work, and we're recommending approval of that work as well as the additional work along the building of 15 Kemp.
That's still way under engineer's estimates, right?
Yeah, we have plenty of project budget for this work.
Any questions for Shane? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any old business that you want to discuss?
While we're talking about these parking lots, Shane, is there any plan for next year? I guess that would be new business, wouldn't it? Sorry. Next year's alley project?
I believe we're following the utilities for next year's project, and I believe they were going to be looking at what's called Redlinger alleys, so the block west of Broadway, I believe is where they're going to look at, so.
Outstanding job with the parking lots. I mean, you've got a lot more done than what was originally planned. If anybody hasn't been uptown to look at the project that they've worked on, they need to get up there because you guys did an outstanding job with that, so thank you.
You did. Any other old business? New business, I think we want to talk about the flight we took. We're all a little punchy tonight. We left this morning at about 7:45 this morning, and we flew to Pier, and took us 20 minutes to get to Pier. Took us 20 minutes to load on the Pier people, and then we took off, and it took us 55 minutes to get to Denver. So it's just a great trip on this new airline that is coming into Watertown twice a day. And it was just turned out really nice, guys. It was quiet. We could talk just like we are right now. It was just a great time. Yeah, so I would encourage everyone, if you if you want to spend a weekend in Denver or do something, jump on that plane and do it.
I got two comments about that. I was one of them that attended as we were getting off the plane in Denver, the lady sitting in front of me turned around and said, who do I thank for this? And like, kind of took me off guard. And I said, why, what do you mean? He said, well, I fly out as Watertown. I won't tell who she works for, but I fly out of Watertown. I go to Denver a lot, and it's going to make my life so much easier. And I explained it's a joint effort between a lot of different groups that got this off the ground. But she was very appreciative of what had been accomplished. Second thing, Mayor, is we didn't exactly have a bet, but you kept bugging me that I'm going to owe you a Diet Coke if we ever get this off the ground. For the last several months, we get all these hiccups, as you refer to them, and I said, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, today we saw it, so I'm glad to pay up.
Well, thanks, Glenn. I appreciate it. 'Cause
It wasn't-
Glenn, I think, does come from Missouri somehow. It's always a show me, I'll believe it when I see it. He said that I don't know how many times. We still got things going on for that.
It was a great flight. It was nice to see some people that left from Denver and flew into Watertown. I posted a bunch of stuff on my Facebook page today as we took steps through the flight. I think I've had almost 100 different comments on that. All people excited about using ADIs, so.
There was also a lady that got on board in Denver. It was the first flight. And I'm trying to think of the gal's name. She works at the radio station. Help me out. Is it Charlotte? Tom's wife? Chantel. Chantel's mom jumped on the flight and came from Denver with us, and it was exciting to to see this happen. And then as we came in, we did the ribbon cutting, and Christine Ohm was there and gave a little talk for us. The chamber had a great ribbon cutting. I will say, Todd, if you're watching, you need to learn how to just use that scissor a little better. He couldn't get the ribbon cut, so he was going to take that big scissor out to the shop and sharpen it up, and the PO wouldn't let him do it. So I can see it now. But it turned out really good, you guys, and I would encourage anyone to look at those prices, and if you're heading out, go through Denver for us.
And they still serve better Denver omelets in Watertown than they do in
Yes,
Denver.
they do. Yes, they do. I would agree. We did have our Denver omelet, and Watertowns are much better. Any liaison member reports? Hearing none. Executive session. I do need to go into executive session. It will be under contract negotiations, and I do not expect any action tonight. So I'll look for a motion and a second to go into executive session. Motion by John, second by Bruce. All in favor say aye. Opposed?